Oh, good.
We're going chasing.
Hello there, and welcome to...
We're going chasing.
Hello, now, and welcome to...
We're going chasing.
Now, we have a lot on the agenda, lads, so we'll cut the chase and get straight down to the business.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of We're Going Chasing. We've got the Monday Club on a Tuesday morning this week because of the bank holiday here in Ireland. I was away in Manchester yesterday, and for that reason, I suppose, along with the bank holiday, we've pushed it on to Tuesday morning, but we'll be back in our regular slot of Monday morning from next week onwards. How was your weekend, Cillian?
Great, not as good as yours. You did a great result over in the Manchester derby for your lads. Like, it's some result for United, keeping City at just 3 goals.
Will you stop?
So, yeah, you must have been absolutely delighted coming out of Old Trafford yesterday to keep it at 3.
Absolutely miserable. It was the second time there this month. I was there for the Galatasaray game as well, that they lost 3-2. So I've seen them concede 6 goals in 2 games in the last month, which is quite miserable. At least the Galatasaray game, there was something to shout about. But
I'd say if you win once more, Ten Hag might get the bullet.
He'll be thereabouts. It'll be hard to see Christmas at this stage.
He's in the red.
He would be in the red, yeah. If we're doing performance rankings on the football, he'd definitely be in the red. But yeah, I'd be surprised if he saw Christmas now the way he's going.
Well, I hope he does. I hope he stays there for 10 years.
No, to be fair, there's much bigger issues than the manager at the club. Gary Neville is the right man to speak on that, really, rather than me. But he is spot on in his analysis, as far as I'm concerned. And look, if Ten Hag does go, a new manager will come in, and you'll probably have the same issues that you've had with the previous 3 or 4 managers.
So we'll try and get Neville on next week, but promising nothing. I don't know, is he into the racing or not?
I'd say be into the race now, right? Did he own a leg of a horse? I think he did.
They probably did at one stage, yeah.
I think he did. Right, sure, look, Cillian, we'll get into our performance rankings, and we're going to start off with the green again. And the first man we have in the green is Gavin Cromwell. What a period of form he's going through at the moment, and what a day he had on Saturday.
Yeah, savage day. Was it Friday, I think, was it?
Friday even, yeah.
He's in some form. He's 31% in the last 14 days. But yeah, he went through a stage there from the 21st of October till Railway Hurricane ran in Cheltenham on Friday, where he had 8 runners and 7 of them won.
Yeah.
So he was in absolutely scandalous form. You could back anything that he was running, really, and he had some really good winners, especially over in Cheltenham on the Friday. You had my mate Mozzie, Canto Bruno winning 2 nice races there. So he seems to be in savage form, and it continued into Saturday as well with Florian Porter. And Antrim Coast was only just beaten then as well. So he was in savage form in the big races over there, and it's great to see it for Gavin.
Yeah, and he had a second there at Galway as well, the other Mozzie, my mate Mozzie's little brother. But he could be a decent sort, hopefully, for him going forward, because he's done very well with my mate Mozzie, really. And he jumped very well, actually, and he was very impressive. And Keith Donoghue, I think it was Emma Nagle, said there on Twitter it was Paul Carberry-esque.
Yeah, it was. I'd say Keith probably knew he'd a lot in hand now running against those horses over there. I think it was just maybe Jetronic that would have been worried about even going into the race. So he rode him like the best horse, and he was ultra cool. All right. Probably just needed a bit of experience jumping the first day out when he got beaten by a 50-1 shot in the beginners. But that horse actually won in Galway on Saturday as well. The big chap, he won a novice chase there, so he's franked the form a small bit as well for my mate Mozzie. But you'd imagine now he'd be kept to it might be a handicap route in the spring he'll go for. I think Gavin said he definitely needs the better ground, so you'd imagine he could be put away now for the winter, that it's like we're getting rain like we've ever got before.
It's very heavy here.
You saw it with Wexford on Monday as well, having to be abandoned, and Galway was nearly unraceable as well. It was so heavy. They were coming home drunk. So you'd imagine now that we mightn't see my mate Mozzie for a good few months.
Yeah, quite possibly. And I know we've Gavin Cromwell in the green, but to be honest, we nearly could have put in Canto Bruno in there himself on his own. I absolutely loved that performance. To be honest, now I'm not big into times, but I did see that they were quite impressed with his time, first of all, but second of all, his final furlong was the fastest final furlong across the course of the 2 days at Cheltenham, which is quite impressive. But what really stood out to me was his jumping. I thought he was as good a jumper or hurdle as you'll find, to be totally honest with you. Literally, when he came to him, he just stepped over him. Like, he didn't break stride, he didn't waste any time in the air. It was as if he just put the front 2 hoofs over him and just kept running. I thought he was super.
Yeah, I'd agree with you 100%. Like, I think that's sort of the key to him as well. Looks to be good ground. So
Yeah.
Be interesting to see where they go with him. Like, he's definitely a horse that could go back and trip as well. When you're that slick of a jumper, I think, and he's obviously he'd be a strong stayer 2 miles as well, you'd imagine then. But when you jump so quick like that, you could always the option of going back and trip as well.
Yeah, and there's always the doubts at this time of year in terms of what horses are running against. And at times you sort of have to take early season form with a pinch of salt. So God knows how good Encanto Bruno really is, but you'd imagine when he gets a nice bit of ground, even if handicaps are his game, whatever his game is down the line, I'm not sure if that will be the case, whatever his game is down the line, he's definitely one to keep on side with going forward. Like, he could turn up to a Royal Bond or something, could he step back and trip? But it's probably the ground again would be against him, considering the weather we've had here for the last 6 weeks. It's nearly hard to pick out something. He could go back over to England again, possibly.
Yeah, he found
there
it
in November at
maybe
Cheltenham,
November,
possibly
yeah.
for him.
Unless there's a race from Monturris, because that seems to be the only course in Ireland that will have not completely bottomless ground at this stage of the year.
Yeah. Takes the rein very well there. Also then in the green, I know Irish Raiders had 7 of the 14 winners at the October meeting last year at Cheltenham, but Irish Raiders are in the green again because they did very well over the course of the weekend.
They did, yeah, sure. It's like, I'd say, I didn't count now, but I think it could be 5 or 6 winners they had.
Yeah.
3 on Friday and 3 on Saturday, so just one short of last year's total. I don't know, was there any ones really, like second, I suppose Antrim Coast could have made it to 7 there. Yeah, Irish Raiders, I suppose it was the Henry and Gavin Cromwell throw. Gavin had 3, was it? And Henry had 2. So unfortunately only 5 winners. But Henry's 2, like, very impressive, dancing on my own. I know you put him up here at the last week's preview show at 14s, and Jesus, it was a fair performance from him. I thought he might be one that might be held onto for Aintree again to go back to that race, but like, he was basically top weight in the race, 1 pound below, not long till May, and just bounced out and made the whole lot really. Just he was with Haddocks to Zobo for the entirety of the race, and like you saw there, a good few of them came from the back as well. I know the Tizard horse and Harry Fries were both sort of held up in the race, and they came on the scene late and ran on. But he was very impressive, jumped really well, and he was a nice winner for you and a good winner for Henry as well.
Yeah, a great winner for Henry, and he was actually even 8 or 10 to 1 when we were talking about it here on the podcast, and I was saying that he was great value at that. So the fact that he even drifted out, was even more impressive. So was his form too in previous runs, second easy game. I know he's getting some weight there off him, but that's quite useful form. Easy game maps up grade 2s like that. So he was one that stood off the page to me. But Irish Raider certainly in the green this weekend. In most instances, there may be something else later on in the podcast on that. Killian, you've got dropping retained riders in the green. In the green? Yeah, correct. What's this
Green,
about?
Yeah, I suppose there was a case of a rider that had a retainer with the McNeils last year, and like, look, Adrian Heskin's a pretty decent rider, but there was 2 cases this weekend over in the UK, one on Saturday in Cheltenham, Butch and Sean Bowen. Like, don't know how Sean Bowen won that race. Keith Donoghue looks to be travelling all over him, and that's really the facet of Sean Borden's riding style. He's very, very strong in the finish, and after being headed inside inside. I'd say there was only about 70 or 80 yards to go, headed inside that and still got up. Like it was a savage ride in the finish from him in that race. So, and then the same thing on Sunday in Aintree for in the water side, who looks a decent enough horse in fairness, win the maiden hurdle. Like he did a lot wrong throughout the race, but it looks like John Joe Neal's going to get up and beat him there. But Harry Cobden very strong in the finish there again to win that for in the water side and Paul Nichols. So I think it was a case that, like, I won't say that neither horse would have won if they had the previous retained rider on, but definitely using stable jockeys makes a big difference when they could be sitting on the horse a lot more times than the retained rider. Like, it's not really a thing in Ireland. It's just Mark Waltree that's used, and that's because JP has so many horses and so many different yards. I'd say more than anything else. So
Yeah,
I think it's no harm to put that in the green. The use of the
yeah,
stable
yeah.
jockey over a retained rider.
Yeah. Fair enough. I'd agree with you in the overall point. Certainly that there's no need for the vast majority of owners to have a retained rider. But I don't know, in this instance, I don't know if you could put it directly down to the horse's result. Maybe in Sean's Bowen case you could, because that was he won that race as much as the horse.
He did, yeah.
So maybe in that case it is warranted. Just so we're speaking on jockeys as well, Killian, Graham Rodwell's his power rankings for jockeys. I've got him up here. I know we were speaking about him before, but totally absurd as far as I'm concerned. Like to have Mark Walsh below Stan Shepherd, Tom Cannon, Brendan Powell. To be honest, I could name any amount of them, but he should be in the top 5 comfortably.
I'd have him in the top 3.
Top 3. But there was so many sort of inconsistencies throughout that whole thing. So many things standing out. It just didn't really make sense to me. But I suppose that's what he's paid to do.
Maybe you might go away and come up with a list with the jockey rankings, and might be one for next Monday.
I could do, yeah. I don't mind putting together a list of 10. No bother at all. I'll put together a list of 10, and we'll see.
I don't understand
what we'll do is we'll put them side by side.
Yeah.
And
that's
we'll
a good idea.
Exactly, and then we'll see. We leave the people.
I was just happy to throw you down the river to do it, as opposed to doing it myself. But I'll have a swing at it as well.
Yeah. Well, what we'll do is we'll come up with it between us, and then we'll put it beside Graham Rodwell's. And
that's fair enough.
And then people can decide themselves who's more accurate. But I certainly don't agree with his. Now it could be a case where we're doing our own separately too, because we could have fallen out over it as well.
We might, yeah, it's very possible, yeah.
Affordale Fury also in the green, over 2 miles 6 there at Galway. Won reasonably well. The right horses in second too. Favori de Champtou, they're a nice bit away from third there. Were you impressed with him?
Yeah, I was. I think he's a horse that definitely didn't want that kind of ground, and no one me alluded to that after the race. Like he made a good few mistakes throughout the race, and like there's them last 2 fences in Galway, they're difficult enough to maneuver coming down the hill, and then one sort of coming back up again. So like it's not an easy jumping test there. Like so. I think he did it well, and as you said, the right horse was in second. In Favori de Champtou, who's a pretty good yardstick as well. He'd some pretty decent form over hurdles, so I think it's especially in that kind of ground too. He won the race in Limerick last Christmas, didn't they? The 3 mile hurdle race on bottomless. So you'd imagine like that was going to get him a lot closer, but definitely on better ground. Affordale Fury would be a lot further away from him. I'd say like he's only a 5-year-old, and that's good to see going chasing 2 at 5. So definitely a lot of pluses for him, and I see people saying about the 4 miler again for him potentially, but like it's the same thing. It's the Irish national. If he's not good enough to run the RSA, he'd be an Irish national horse. But from what I've seen, like once he brushes up his jumping and taking his form into hurdles over a count, he definitely could be an RSA horse.
Yeah, and indeed, it's a great start for my 10 to follow as well.
Yeah,
that's the first horse that we actually had in either of our 10 to follows. I think, am I correct in saying that?
I don't know.
I think, no, I am. Yeah, no, I am. I'm almost certain. That's the first, and it's good to get that off with a win as well. And I had him flagged. Indeed, I had him flagged at the time for an Irish national. rather than a 4 miler. But I don't know. Look, I'd be happy if we went an RSA too. It's not a case of totally nailing colours to the mast in terms of targets and that. But look, we'll see how he gets on over the course of the season. On to the Amber, Killian, and we've got 2 horses in the Amber. First of all, Flooring Porter. Before I leave you speak about it, I'm going to say that I thought his price was an insult. It was totally ridiculous. And this isn't me after time, and I put up a tweet half an hour before the race.
Chris Poole will be coming for you.
Sorry?
Chris Poole could have been coming for you.
yeah. But I put up a tweet half an hour before the race. I couldn't get over the fact that he was 6-4 against the field that he was up against. Even allowing, as I said in the tweet, allowing for mistakes, he should still have more than enough, to beat a field of that quality, assuming that he retained even 80% of potential or of ability even. He'd take care of them. He took care of them very well, really. Had a few hairy jumping errors, but he's in the green, Amber. Or he's in the Amber, Killian.
Yeah, and I suppose that's the reason I'd have him in the Amber. Like he got £5 from Broadway Boy and beat him 2.5 lengths. I know it was as easy as you want, and like he could have won by a lot further, but like being rated £19, is that right? Yeah, £19 higher than him over hurdles and getting 5, like he was entitled to win and win as easy as he did. So
Yeah.
I see there's people getting a bit excited about Flooring Porter. I think he's into 10s for the RSA, having been 25s or something. So like he was entitled to win the race. He did win it, and I think that's all you can say about it. And he's shown an appetite for jumping fences at least, and he will improve for that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be quick to back him for an RSA against especially some of the up and coming novices from last year. I know it wasn't the greatest renewal of the RSA, but there could be plenty of horses that ran in over a 2.5 mile trip.
And while he won and expected him to win, he's not one that I'd say, geez, we must follow him now for the year and keep a good eye on him and whatnot. He's one to very much, like, next day he's out, look at the field he's in, and if there's a good one there, you'd nearly take him on more than anything. Because of those jumping, he had a couple of errors. He wasn't bad, to be honest.
No.
In the main, he actually jumped okay, to be fair to him.
He did,
but, he seems to just be lacking a bit of scope probably over him. He went for a couple of big ones and he almost sort of landed in the middle of them. Again, he's only novice. It's his first time over fences, but I'd be keen nearly if there was something good there taking him on. I'd be keen to take him on possibly the next day, but we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah, and look, he's entitled to be running in grade ones considering his hurdles form. So, hopefully he stays in them for the year. But I can't really see him being good enough to bother the grade ones at the spring festivals.
Yeah, and then Killian, the second horse in the Amber, is in the Waterside.
Yeah, again, it's the sort of I think he was a good performance considering how many issues the horse had throughout the race. Like he pulled very hard for a 1.5 miles, and his jumping was actually pretty good, I thought. But again, I think it's a case of lads are getting a small bit excited. Like it's, he needed every bit of the Harry Cobden push to win the race, and I just think there'll be a lot more better novices over that trip this season. And I don't know if I'd say he might be one more so for Aintree or for a handicap at Cheltenham as opposed to Ballymore maybe. I just wouldn't see him being good enough. Even his bumper form was pretty good in fairness, but and he was especially impressive over at Sandown when he won the second day. But I think it's just, I'd say grade 1 hurdles now might be a bit above his limit, to be honest. But he's definitely one that'll be a chaser to follow down the line. He's a very big horse. Yeah.
He's certainly, he'd need to improve considerably, really, on what he did at the weekend.
I think he got a racing post rating of 109.
But in saying that, we're not privy to the information in terms of the horse's fitness and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely.
How much he needs to run, etc., etc. But on the face of it, what we saw at the weekend wouldn't excite either of us too much.
No.
By the sounds of it. Killian, finally then, we're on to the red, and top of the list in the red is the Corach Rambler Gold Cup punters. What are you at?
Yeah, it's bizarre to be honest. I think he's a brilliant horse, and like to win two Ultimas back to back and to win a national is absolutely outrageous stuff. And he's obviously a lot of ability, but I wouldn't say, like, I know you can make the argument he needs a run, like that he's been bet out of sight in his season reappearance last 3 years or whatever, and even off a break he struggles sometimes, but like he was absolutely kicked aside, and like it doesn't matter how fit he was or how much of a need of the run he was. Like, you talk about conflated there. He ran behind Manella Indo. Conflated generally needs to run every single year. But like, you can write conflated off as a Gold Cup horse. Like, he came third in the race last year. And you can completely write him off already, even after being hammered. And like, he could go to Down Royal and I could beat my words this time next week. Like, but you can completely write conflated off, and you can write conflated off, you can write Corach Rambler off. Like, he'd be much better off trying to go back to back nationals or to win another Ultima with top weight.
Well, like, I think if you just go back even and look at Cheltenham last year, you've got Noble Yates who finished fourth in the Gold Cup. Hammered. Hammered. Corach Rambler isn't the horse Noble Yates is, in my opinion. Certainly over a trip like that, I'd much prefer Noble Yates. I think he's got some bit of kick about him, and he couldn't go the pace they were going in the Gold Cup, struggling in a huge way, and stayed on. So if he's struggling like that, how is Corach Rambler going to go? When you take into account as well the Ultima last year, Corach Rambler came from way back. And that's his style of running, and that's possibly as quick as he can go. You know, so if you put him into a Gold Cup and they're going a scandalous speed, Corach Rambler will be out the back of the television, and anybody looking at him for a Gold Cup, I reckon, need their head examined.
Yeah, well, like, there is a case to be made that he'd do a Noble Yates. Like, they won the Grand National off a very similar mark, in fairness. I think it was 146 and 147 Noble Yates was. So, like, they're both definitely, like, Corach Rambler could easily do what Noble Yates does, but for win purposes, like, he's 22s on the exchange. Like, you'd want to give your head a good shake if you're backing him for win a Gold Cup. Fair enough. But if you want to back him each way, but you're just throwing away money, really, like, hoping you can collect it, whatever he is, 20-1 place, like, when he could probably be 20-1 on the day. And you can back him each way, then you're 4 or 5 places if they're in it. But like,
you see, Noble Yates too, a key part of it. Noble Yates was 7 going on 8. Corach Rambler is 9 going on 10. Like, you know, how often does a 10-year-old win a Gold Cup, let alone a 10-year-old with the history and the form of Corach Rambler? Like, you know, it's
I agree with you 100%. Like, it's fair enough. I could easily see him coming third or fourth, beating 15-20 lengths. But
would you?
Yeah, but I couldn't see him ever winning a Gold Cup.
Well, it's fair enough. I couldn't even see him finishing third, fourth, maybe fifth.
I'd campaign him for the national again anyway. Try and get him dropped 1 or 2 pounds.
It'd probably be the right way to go about it. We had Irish Raiders in the green, but the Pertemps qualifier at Cheltenham, there was 4 or 5 Irish runners over there in that qualifier. Obviously, new rules in it this year. Usually the top 6 would qualify for the Pertemps. Now it's down to 4. And the whole Irish contingent went home with the tail between their legs, Killian.
They did, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 16th were the results. And like, the one that was 5th was beaten 4 lengths. So there was 3 of them there. 5th, 6th, 7th were all within a length of each other, or half a length even. They came in a line of 3. So they've none of them have qualified. 4 English filled the first 4, and like, if you were training those, or like, I don't know, like, you wouldn't be coming over to England for just a run. Like, you know, they were trying to qualify, I'd say, all of them, and they've all failed, unfortunately. So the first 4 in the Pertemps lineup will be English anyway.
And then finally, well, not quite finally, but the old Rowan Chase is in the red. You weren't impressed? No,
sure. As like, you see straight away when fences are omitted, people are losing their shit on Twitter. And the 3 fences in the home straight weren't jumped, so they didn't jump 6, and there was They only jumped. How many was there supposed to be in the race? 16. They jumped 10. So they jumped a little over. They jumped 60% of the fences about.
It changes the whole complexity of the race, like, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It didn't change your tip for Hitman, who was beating 114 lengths. It does. I agree with you. Yeah, it does change the whole complexion of the race.
Well, if he had those 6 fences to jump, Killian,
he'd have been bet 125 lengths.
But like, it does change the whole complexity of
Absolutely, yeah, it does. Yeah, so
it's a pity there can't be something done about it. The low sun and whatnot. There's got to be something.
Well, like we'll say now, that race was ran at 2:00. Could they have ran it at 12:50 instead? I don't know. Would an hour have made a difference?
Don't know. Would it
the race before it, the veterans race, they jumped all of them.
Yeah, and what was the reason for that? Was there cloud cover?
I don't know. But they jumped them all in the race 35 minutes beforehand. So why couldn't they have made the veterans not go around the fences instead of the big race the day?
Yeah, possibly, but I don't think you can be that precise with it in terms of, well, yeah, you can, because you know where the sun is going to be, but in terms of cloud cover and whatnot, I'd say that had a part to play.
It probably did, because in the maiden hurdle, in the waterside one, they jumped them all, and then the handicap afterwards, they didn't omit. They omitted 2 in the home straight.
Yeah.
So maybe it was a case of clouds, but like, they're going to have to do something, because it seems every time we go to Cheltenham and Aintree this time of year, and it's a bigger issue this time of year.
Christmas.
Leopardstown on Christmas, yeah. Jesus, like,
yeah.
Like, you don't want to say start the racing earlier, like, but you know that something's got to give at some stage. If you're not jumping hurdles or not jumping fences, like, that's not what we came to see. We go to Dundalk on Friday night to see a flat race, like.
Yeah, exactly. That's a fair way of putting it. Finally, Killian, then we've got the sunny southeast in the red. Wexford, 2 days of racing called off. We had some lovely racing there. There was a great beginner's chase, really competitive race called off. And then gentleman's game wasn't declared, but again, that grade 3 or listed chase is always a great race, and that was called off too.
Yeah, it's a real sickener for Wexford to lose them 2 days. I don't know if they're going to be rescheduled or not either, are they?
I haven't seen a rescheduling. No.
So
they will be. I'm sure they will be.
I'm sure they will, yeah. But it's a real sickener for Wexford to lose it. As you said, that beginner's chase was going to be the best race we'd seen so far of the jumps, I'd say, if everything ran. Like in the pocket there, grade 1 winner Sandor again, same thing. So even, you know, it's going to be a serious race, and it's very unfortunate that they lost it. But geez, it must have been absolutely bottomless below there, was it?
Must have been. But the rain we've been having is ridiculous. You see it there coming in today on the flight back from Manchester. Just the field's full, like, saturated. You know, puddles on the ground. We saw it ourselves actually
coming back from America. I said it to you.
America. Yeah.
The place got drowned when we were gone.
Yeah, exact same thing there. So, you know, that's obviously the reason for it. But you'd just be looking ahead now, when you'd be hoping that the likes of Down Royal and Navan and whatnot, you know, won't suffer the same issues as they've had in Wexford, because it's good racing, and you don't want to lose it, and you don't want to compromise.
I for one hope it absolutely pours in Down Royal for the next week for Jerry Colombe on Saturday. It couldn't, as long as the racing isn't called off. I hope they're at a stage where they're saying we need to call this off, but we can't. That's the sweet spot there. As bottomless as it can get.
He doesn't need a bottomless.
He doesn't need a bottomless, but it'll be a big hindrance to other horses, and he'll thrive in it. So
yeah, he'll be happy in it. He'll be happy on most ground, really. But exactly that, if it came out bottomless, it mightn't suit a few others. Like,
it'll really hinder the others. Like, as I said, Jerry do it on better ground even, but it's just, if it came up real soft, it'd be a disaster for the other runners. So please God, it does.
Yeah, okay. Well, look, that wraps up this Monday's or Tuesday's podcast, whichever way you want to look on it.
It's definitely Tuesday.
Well, it's the Monday Club on a Tuesday, so whatever way you want to call it.
I suppose.
But we'll be back again on Friday morning with a preview of next weekend's racing. We'll be focusing primarily on Down Royal. We'll be talking about a few of the main races in the UK, but it'll be primarily Down Royal because it's the real return of the jumps here now in Ireland. So really looking forward to that. And we'll hopefully get up there on the Saturday. Killeen, are you still on for that?
Yeah, I'll be there, yeah.
Okay. Well, look, that's all from us this week, lads. Thanks very much, and we'll see you later on Friday. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
It's Honeysuckle and Rachel Blackmore, racing's golden jewel!